Let's talk everything Lc7i. What do we have here? For first things first, we have the baddest on the block, high level to low level adapter. Meaning whatever's coming in is gonna be what's coming out. It's just not gonna be colored. If you're looking for the best results with high level to low level, that's why they make this, because it's going to give you the best output possible. It's not going to induce any of its own problems for your signal. That's key. We have 1, 2, 3 pairs of inputs, 2, 2, 2, and then we have our power. This is a powered high level to low level, meaning this needs power to function. It's not a passive. A ground and a constant 12 volt. You have remote in and remote out. If you're going to be using GTO, like we said, you just need to use the remote out. It will use the signal coming into the main to generate a remote turn on to power your amplifier. If you don't want to use GTO, like we don't in this situation, you have to turn it off. On the instructions over here, this guy right here, it gives you a diagram. This diagram is for inside of this. You have to open it up and you have to come over here to this one where it says GTO on and defeat. It shifts default on. That'll allow it to turn on from an external source and then repeat the process out to the other product. The other thing in this case that we want to look at is auto mode. What auto mode is designed to do is take whatever's feeding channel 2 and copy it over to channel 3. And the reason why it would do that is you have your front, your rear, and in this case no sub. It sees what's coming in rear and puts it out of the sub channel. That may or may not be an issue. If you have a full range rear output that has subwoofer signal on it, you don't have an issue there. You can put whatever's coming into here, it'll feed into this internally, and that's what this portion of the instruction is showing you right here where it says auto mode. Feeds 3 if no sub signal is present. Comes into here, jumps down, and it passes out the sound. If your channel inputs 2, meaning your rear, sucks and it doesn't have any sub sound to it, you definitely don't want to do that. That would be bad. How do you fix it? In this case, front have a full range sub signal. You can feed those into 2 and give you a full range sub signal. And then you can feed your rear into main. How do you find out if you need to do this backwards? You need to either A, listen with your ears to the speakers and see if you can tell if your speaker's putting out full range, which is there getting kind of hard. Or 2, plug an RTA into the output and see what the heck is going on there. That's the option we're going to take. Grab our RTA and see what front is putting out and what the rear is putting out. The other option, of course, is to just turn it off, and you can always loop whatever's in front out to 3. We've done that before too. So let's head into the car with the RTAs and see what's going on. So what we've done is we plugged the radio in and we're metering the output of the radio. We have one for front and one for rear. We put a disc in that is playing pink noise, which is going to play a level signal from 20 to 20,000. Turn it up. And what we want to look at is on this side of the RTA to see what is going on. As we can see here, the front has more bass than the rear. The high side, we did this, they look basically identical, but when we cover this portion of it, you can see there's way more low end coming out of the front, which would make total sense because the front has 6x9s and the rear only has a 6.5. Front is where most of the bass is coming from. In this case, make sure we use the fronts to feed the subwoofer and not the rears. Let's head back over to the bench. To get inside of the Lc7i, there's 2 screws here on the top, there's 2 screws here on the back. They are a pointy tip 1, not a pointy tip 2. And then you just kind of pull from this area and it's gonna come off. What we're looking for is this right here, the GTO. You wanna look for this pattern here. There's 2 banks here, there's the auto mode, and there's the GTO. It's right here, pull up on it, push back down. It's a simple jumper. Now the GTO is turned off, we'll be able to run our accessory into this and it'll output to the amplifier to turn it on. These 2 banks here we didn't talk about. These are for summing. And what summing would be used for, which we're not doing in this car, would be if we have, let's say, a tweeter, mid, and sub, or we have a tweeter and a mid and rear, or anything where we need to take more than one signal and join them together to make one signal. That's what these banks are for. Get the top back on. The one thing I like to do on this is turn everything all the way down before we start installing it. On the Lc7i, it has these cool little plugs here. These all come out. In this case, we're only going to be using 2 of them. We're going to be using the main in channels 1 and 2. Channels 1 and 2 is going to be front. I made new labels for the unit. This is telling us this is the rear input, front input, the sub we're not going to use. Then we have rear output, front output, sub output. That way, if later down the road we need to come back and service it or something like that, we'll know what's what and we won't have to try to figure out what the heck we did. Plus also when we're working on it, if I have to pass this off to Fernando, he knows the way I intended it to be hooked up. So this just makes it easier for us.